What is up, people of YouTube? I'm your host Vernon. This is Hemenway Harbor. Let's fish that. Alright, ladies and gents, today's video is brought to you by my fridge or freezer. And simply what I mean by that, before I can get some new ice cream to put in the freezer, I need to make some space. And I do have quite a lot of bait in the fridge, having made some carp pack bait. That's something that's in the fridge, as well as some anchovies. These are things I want to use out there today rather than just going fishing. I want to use these things to make some space. So the idea for this video today is going to be throwing out baits, waiting for some fish to find them. Alright, so over here I have my little pack bait. We're ready to send that out, see if maybe we get some carp out there. Got some regular corn on here and a little floaty. That's just to lift that little piece of corn out of the muck, making it easier for fish to find. And then my normal pack bait, but you'll also see that I have quite a lot of sticks in here. General idea with this, I'm not leaving the sticks in there, I'm making holes through my pack bait. You have to compress the pack bait on there so that when you cast it doesn't fly everywhere. But if you pack this on too tight, this needs to dissolve in the water, releasing the food and flavor in the water. So by packing it this tight, I'm just entering some sticks in there that I'm going to be making holes. The general idea is having holes through it so that the water can penetrate and release all of the bait and flavor a lot quicker. I'm picking this particular spot because there's always someone in this area fishing, and because of that, the fish know that this is an area where they can find food. So hopefully by throwing my stuff out there, they will start feeding on it and we can catch something out there. Alright guys, just a friendly reminder, you have to be outside of the marina boundary wall before you can start fishing. No fishing inside the marina. Just had a little shad jumping out there. So we're just outside of the marina wall, fishing in this area. Got our corn set up out there. This is something that's going to soak in the water for a long time, waiting for fish to find it. Now the idea with the second rod, there's going to be throwing out some anchovies and seeing if maybe there's some stripers or maybe some catfish in this area willing to go for our little anchovies. But before I'm going to throw that out there, I am, however, going to throw around some lures at first. Just play around a bit before we soak all of the baits out there for the entire day. Alright, so we have both our baits out there. We have our carp baits and our anchovies soaking in the water. We'll see if anything will mess with that. Now, luckily the sun is coming out at the moment. We have a couple of hours of good weather before another storm rolls in. So I'm going to use this time to see if we get anything on the baits. So obviously this thing is acting rather weird. It didn't set off the alarm, but it keeps sinking. Let's see if we have anything on there. Feels like it. Once again, this fish didn't set off the alarm, if it even is a fish. Let's bring him in, see what we got. This is why I always have that little cork thing on the front of my line. If you're not setting off the alarm, you still need to know when something's happening. And we do have a carp, tiny little baby one. Let's quickly get the net. Feisty little guy. There we are, fish landed. Tiny little golden carp, lovely red colors on him. Think he's fattening up for the spawn, even though he's a bit small. But let's quickly get that hook out. Alright, so let's quickly get this fish some oxygen so we can have a little look at him. Lovely colours, gold with that red on the tail, maybe a little young male. And there we go. Good little carp. He has quite a big bulky body on him, even though he's a bit small. Still a young guy, but he's done his part. Let's get him back to the water. Lots of power, and off he goes. First little fish landed. I'm going to rebait, see if maybe there's more of these small carp in the area. Alright, ladies and gents, today turned out to be a pretty decent day out here. Once the clouds went away, we got some warm weather with some sunshine. But as you can see from the water behind me, there's a bit of motion on the water. That's because the wind is starting to pick up. Now yes, there's still a lot of daylight left, but with the wind picking up, it's going to be very hard to film. And at the end of the day, we set out to soak some baits out there, and we did that. We managed to get that one tiny little carp. And on the little anchovies, we only had that automatic hook setter go off once, but there was no fish on there. And if I think about this particular cove 2 years back, of course there was a lot of shad up into the cove, and casting out some anchovies, you were kind of guaranteed to get on some stripers. Whereas at the moment, it seems like the little stripers are nowhere to be found. And there can be any reason for that happening, but I personally think it's because of the lower water levels. A few years back we were fishing a couple 100 yards that way. It was a lot more water. It was easy for people on the kayaks to talk about 40 to 70 feet worth of water, whereas now we're looking more at 9 to 12 feet. So in my opinion, seeing as there's no more shad around, I think the water is lower. I think these fish have moved out of the cove. You have to go into deeper water, go and find the new spot where these fish are all together. But of course that does not mean there's not fish in this area, especially the time of year is very important. Like I said before, this is a very flat area, meaning it's a great place for carp to start feeding. So once the carp are done with their spawn, and they'll be patrolling these flats, and who knows, you might get one of the little stripers or the catfish circling the marina area. So even though I didn't get that many fish out there, you can still find fish in this area. But like the changing waters, we as anglers also need to change and adapt and find new spots where we can find some fish. And with that being said, I had fun. I want to thank you guys for following me on this outing. Please feel free to ask any questions down below in the comments. Consider hitting the subscribe button, joining my community, and do give me a little thumbs up for at least catching a fish. Alright, thanks for watching, and like always, I'll see you next time. Alright, so this time we had the alarm go off, and we have a little fish on. This is of course right after I did the little outro there. Luckily the wind isn't that bad yet. Just want to try and keep this fish away from the other line we have out there. Fish is already at the top. Still a ways out there. Not the fattest or biggest of carp, but a lot bigger than the first one. Now whether the little spiky feeder thing of mine was working or not, gonna need a lot more evidence. One outing is not enough to be conclusive. But the first fish, we got that within an hour. This one took 3 hours to get. So at the moment, statistically, it's exactly the same whether you make a hole in your feeder or not. Managed to get over the other line. Let's see if we can land this carp. Whether he'll fit in our net or not. There we go, fish in the net. He's a bit big for the net. Unfortunately, I don't have my carp mat. But let's lay him out on the net so we can get a look at him. Nice, big, almost fattened carp. Nice big sized one. Lovely golden colors on him. Not going to weigh him or anything. I don't think he's near my biggest, but he is a decent sized one. Let's get him back to the water. So, lovely little carp. Good catch. And off he goes. And of course, the better fish always show up at the end of the video.